Welcome to Glazed Over,
a podcast for business tips, painting tricks, and gabbing with friends.
We're your hosts, Amy Williams
and Christine Steele, and we're so glad you're here.
Hey, Christine.
Hi, Amy. How are you today?
I'm good. I am doing this thing where I get up a lot earlier so I can try to finish my day earlier. So though it is noon, I've been up for like 6 hours. I've had at least six cups of coffee. I am on edge, but in a fun way. So I think this episode could be really exciting.
I am so wanting to learn all of that. I am actually sitting here trying to do some hiring, and I'm super frustrated. Because I want like a little like secret, like, let me see how you will work like later on. Like, that's my frustration. So I need all this coffee too. But that's okay. I'm super excited because we have Michele with us today, and Michele is amazing. She has a studio licensing program called Art Rave Studios, and I just can't wait. Michele, tell us all the things about you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. It gives me something to do because I'm sitting nursing a fractured ankle, so which is why I'm on my couch view. But I'll tell you about my canvas painting. So a little mini history. So I had a sip and paint, which is 100% mobile, for about 8 years before COVID. And then I started licensing my painting. It's actually before COVID, but I painted all my own artwork. So as I was kind of like growing my business, we worked up to like 15 to 30 events every month. I had several artists that were working under me. I had an event manager. We partnered with about 30 different venues, but we also did private parties, did corporate events, and we did events up to 130 attendees. But COVID changed all that. And it's a good thing I already had a couple of established relationships with licensing where I had other studios that were using my artwork and experiencing a lot of success in their ceramic studios with an evening canvas painting program. So just prior to COVID, I started to kind of get my own website going, and then we launched it after COVID when studios were starting to kind of like get back into having classes. So now the canvas program is pretty established, and we have many studios that continually share with us their successes, and it just gives them the opportunity to focus on their ceramic business, focus on other areas of their business, and then leave the designing and the creating of the art, to somebody else like myself. And I'm happy to do it. I love creating the designs. And they were successful in my business, and they continue to show that they're successful in other businesses as well. So it's fun.
I've been using it since, I think from probably pretty early, because I know I've had it at least 2 or maybe 2.5 years now. So I'm not sure if that lines up of how long I've been signed in.
Probably, it's about right.
I love the idea that the hard work is done. I use canvases, and you keep up with the trends. You do amazing. So I'm telling everybody, jump on it. It is such an opportunity for us to kind of step back. And they're not. So when I say this, I don't know how this is going to I'm not sure how this is going to go. So if I say anything that is not, help me out here.
She's about to slander me. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm not. It is not a cutesy design. It is more detailed. It is more.
It's very painterly from what I've seen. Like I feel like looking at the designs you put out, you leave an Art Rave class like learning a technique. Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like to me, which is very cool, because that's not what I really do in my own style. And when I was in a traditional studio, I was having to come up with the canvas designs that we taught, and so everything was my style. And so I think it's so important to have like what you do, because it attracts a different type of client.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Well, and I've even had people contact me, and they want to learn more acrylic technique. And then I'm like, hey, when you see, and that's another thing, is that I actually set a different price point for them too. because it is a little bit more detail. It's not, you're going to throw this down in probably about, I mean, normal classes I can do an hour and a half. These ones, you're going to take a little bit longer, and it's going to, I mean, I think some of them take about 3 hours. A lot of them I can push into, but you want to make sure that since it is a little bit more detail, which is just awesome. But anyway, the undertone, is that what I want to call it?
Yeah, the underpainting.
Yeah, that amazes people of how much of a difference that really
game changer. Yeah, that's absolutely a game changer. And that's something that, so I have a background in illustration, and when I was illustrating for companies, the deadlines were very demanding. And so I would have to come up with something that in a very short amount of time that looked very finished. And I think I mean, I did that for over 17 years, and I had to do a variety of subjects. It was whatever they would throw at me, from dolls to teddy bears to Winnie the Pooh, or, I mean, any. And so I had to be kind of like, extremely versatile in subject. And I think that is what has been helping me so much with Art Rave, because it's like, I don't necessarily, I mean, Art Rave overall has a style. People do look at now the Art Rave gallery, they can kind of say that looks like Michelle's work, or that looks like Art Rave. But I also try to cover a variety of subjects and also a variety of painting styles, because even in my experience, I have some customers that like painting things that are more landscape. Some people like painting things that are cute and colorful. Some people like painting things that are really brushy. Some people like a tiny bit of detail. So it's like, I try to incorporate all of that in there, so there's something for everybody, but yet a consistent technique or set of techniques that gives fast results. Does that make sense?
It's approachable,
like
totally.
Yeah, my husband has this term. It's called low effort, high return.
Yes, that's all I want.
And that's how we try and keep the paintings, is because, you know, sometimes you'll see like a cartoon painting. Like I've seen some people do like a Disney character or something, and it's outline everything. And a Disney character is, even though our brain tells us it's childish because it's simple, and so you think it's easy because it looks childish or cartoony. But honestly, like the hardest thing to paint or to draw is a Disney character.
Yeah.
Especially if you want it to look like it wasn't run over by a truck, you know? So it really, like, creating something that has that's what I call a high effort, low return. Okay.
Totally.
Because you need to be like totally tuned in professional. I mean, I've illustrated with Disney before, and you have to be dead on.
Yeah.
So it's like high effort, low return. I like to keep my paintings low effort, high return, so that anyone can really paint them. And by keeping them, you know, like systematized in terms of the process. Like, I don't know with you, Christine, if you use a lot of like the outlines and templates, but we almost never came to an Art Rave event without a pile of templates for people to trace, because that also is a huge indicator or a huge measure of people's success, you know, coming away with something that they like and that they'll come back for. So I think that's our job as the creator. I'm sure like with you too, Amy, that it's like when you give somebody the right tools, like we're the artists. It's our responsibility to show them and how they can create something successful without being a professional artist.
Totally.
So,
it's all about building that confidence, because that's also what brings people coming back.
Exactly.
And I agree with what you're saying 100%. If you have a class that, and we've all taught one, we can say at least one that you've taught one and you're like, man, nobody's canvas, plate, whatever you're doing looked wonderful. Like, it was,
right.
Like you're like, it was okay. But that's a moment where you're not going to say, oh, everyone that walked in there clearly doesn't know how to paint. You're going to say, what did I do wrong?
Right.
How did I teach it? What wording did I do? What did I miss? And really nice is that like you offer the template, you offer a step-by-step, usually printout, and if not, it. Then you offer a video of you doing it as well.
Yeah. So important.
And so I built up the video library, you know, like years ago I started recording myself, and I have those videos, you know, that I sell my business as well. But I use them for the studios as well, because when I'm teaching in the video, I know that at times I've wondered, okay, do I do the video with with the audience being another studio owner, or do I speak to
their customer? Yep.
And so, but see, when I record them, I'm speaking to my customer, which I think is also helping studios, because one thing that I've noticed as I've talked to more studio owners is they're not very confident in their ability to teach acrylic painting. So by watching the videos, they can either put it on fast mode if they just want to jump through and just kind of see how I'm layering. If they're a more, seasoned teacher, they can do that. Or they can watch it and they can also get some ideas on maybe how to teach this particular thing. So there's a difference, right? I mean, learning how to paint and learning how to teach the painting, learning what shortcuts you can give people, how you can, build their confidence, or how you can explain something easier. So I think that the videos help tremendously. I mean, we've gotten feedback from some of our very new studio owners that has really helped them to learn to even improve their teaching. So that's really wonderful too.
Yeah, that's amazing. You put that so well, because I'm a person who, like Christine mentioned before we started recording, I also sell like subscription items, and I've waffled back and forth on who to speak to in those handouts and those videos and stuff. And I would think, speak to the customer, but really that's such a missed opportunity, because I think people are coming to people's studios because they like who runs the studios. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from that employee that they've gotten to know and have a relationship with. And so that, that just blew that open for me. Like, so well said. Thank you for saying that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, sometimes studio owners, we might not be a very good painter. We might need to kind of, and I think that like what I like about watching your videos is, like you said, I get to learn, and you might, the way that you just flick your wrist and move that paintbrush is like, you bring it home, and it's just like, and the way that you described how you did that is, I can use your words and then take it to my customers, and it is, it's really nice. Like it's just a great opportunity. And I think that the only thing that I will say is that I have had really a lot of success in painting the picture and using that as my event. And you have the pictures and the graphics that we can use, but I find it is a lot better, because if there is something I'm not that good at, I use mine. That way, then on the picture.
I see.
No, I think
that's a great idea.
A huge thing to bring up, because when I was developing Art Rave, and I painted the paintings, and my instructors, they were trained to paint the paintings to look a lot like mine. And if it came back and it didn't look a lot like mine, well, then we'd have to work on that. I mean, I would train up my instructors to be able to teach my paintings. They never designed for me. They just had to replicate my designs. And so I wanted customers to come to an event and know that they were going to leave with what they bought, with what they saw on the calendar. And I would get feedback sometimes from customers at restaurants, and they would say, I went to this one place and they had this one painting on the calendar, and then they painted something completely different, which they said it was painted, like really poorly. And I experienced that too when I went to a sip and paint in Chicago. The instructor taught something like so poorly compared to what the photo was on the website. And I thought, like, I am never going to do that. And so now, that was when I was teaching and, all the things. But when I started licensing, I could see that other studios would also benefit from painting a sample painting, because you can still take the design and the strength of the design and the, like the composition, the colors and everything. It's still going to be successful. You paint it as a instructor or studio owner, you paint it your way, and then, or the way your instructors can do it, and your customers know what they're going to be painting. And also you're more confident in teaching it. And you're 100%. Teaching it in a way that's easy for you. Like, teach it in a way that works for you.
Yeah. So, I don't set yourself up for success. you know?
Absolutely. Yes.
I have been in the industry for 15 years now, and I love it here. I wouldn't still be here if I didn't, but I do see in Chatter, which is our private Facebook group, a lot of people are like listing classes before they've made a sample, or they're selling out classes and they haven't made a sample. And that, as a person who is anxious, makes me so nervous, because it's like, are you going to be able to deliver that? Because your customers are actually going to expect you to deliver it. So yeah, I think great advice, you know, paint it before you do it. And if you need to show your version and not the Art Rave one, then that's still this, you know, still the same thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the materials are there for people to use for marketing, but if you can get around to having, you know, you or one of your instructors paint a sample painting, it should take you, you know, like an hour or so to paint it, you know, to paint it as a sample. And that slightly simplified version will be what your customers get.
Totally.
And, you know, I also wanted to bring up too, because I think you started mentioning something, Christine, about like teaching the classes and having people, using the people in your class as a gauge to your instruction and how well you were communicating your instruction. And I think that's why I wanted to bring up the term guided instruction, because I think that what I've learned with getting to know ceramic studios is that there's a lot of, you know, open door walk-in business. And even in the canvas painting, I had no idea about this until I started getting to know studios a year or two ago, that they would offer canvas painting in the studio as a just walk-in, and people could just like take a packet and sit down and paint by themselves with a set of instructions. But to me, I mean, I only had professional artists teaching people in a guided experience. So I never used the word guided experience because it was just understood. That's all I did. And I think that as a ceramic studio owner, some people do it, some people don't. But when you start to really embrace what you bring to your community, when you as an artist are sharing your skills and knowledge in a guided experience, in a step-by-step class, basically, then you ensure people leave with a beautiful finished product, and they start to trust your business. Like, people would come into my classes, they would sign up and travel long distances to come to my classes because they would just be like, oh, I've been to her classes. Oh, trust me, you're going to leave with a gorgeous painting. They're like, you're going to love what you do. I only come to her because, you know, and that's what they would say, because they would know if they came in, they don't know how they're going to do it, but they know if they come to the class, they're going to get a cutout template. You know, they're going to have like myself or someone else teaching, or helpers helping them, or giving them a little encouragement. But it's that the quality of the guided experience that people will start to know and trust from your business. And then they'll see something beautiful on your calendar, and they're not going to think like, oh, I can't paint that. They're going to be like, oh my God, I have to paint that, because they know that you're going to be helping them, you know, your staff.
It goes from I can't paint that to I can't wait to paint that.
Absolutely.
You can use that in your marketing.
In they know they have like the support.
Totally.
And that's the support and the energy, the creative energy that your company or your business should bring to your students, is that ability to achieve something they wouldn't be able to do on their own.
Yeah. So logistically, how does one get started with Art Rave?
So we have, so our licensing program has several levels, and we actually just launched this week a new lower level membership, like an entry level. We call it a basic membership. We do have, before that, we do have an a la carte where you can just, it's like a sample. You can use one design for one class at a flat fee. And that's just kind of like a dip your toe in. I want to just try a single painting. So that's called an a la carte. Our new basic membership is a monthly. It's $49 a month, and you get one painting and all the support materials with it. And you can build up a library every month. So you get one painting every month, and you can you can actually teach more than one painting a month. If, let's say, you've been licensing for 6 months, you would have 6 paintings in your gallery. You can still repeat those paintings. So that's where the new basic membership, when you're monthly, the usage is unlimited. So if, let's say, for instance, if you get like a really popular Highland cow design or something and it sells out, if you're a monthly member, you can have 2 or 3 or 9 classes with that same painting and continue to profit from that painting as long as you have people signing up for it, which is what we have happen a lot.
Yeah,
I bet.
Yeah. In fact, I have a really good story just from this last November, December. One of our licensing members who is immobile, and she's just a single woman. She doesn't have like a team or anything like that. And she is a regular licensor, so she can use them unlimited. And our Highland cow design for this winter was super popular.
Adorable. Absolutely adorable.
I don't know how many classes that she actually had. Like, she had to have a lot, but she reported her numbers to us and she said, we could share them. And she made $18,000 from that one
That's incredible.
single painting.
Good for her.
She said that she paid her 2 boys. She paid off their winter college term.
Oh my God.
Like her success for November, December.
That's so cool.
And that single design. So if you had that one design on a popular, month, I mean, you could use it for multiple classes. You could have a private party with it. So the basic membership is really for those people who are teaching 3 or less designs a month. And they don't have the volume or maybe they're just starting out mobile. And then our other memberships you have roughly like enough credits for about 6 paintings a month. You build your gallery faster. You can fill your calendar. Those are people who are having 3 or more paintings sessions a month that need that volume of artwork to continue hosting classes.
Sure. And is there like I'm forgetting all my words, but like once you join, do you have to stay for a certain amount of time or like?
Oh, great question. No, you can cancel any time, but you no longer have the right to use the artwork.
Nice.
It's a usage-based membership. So even though the credits kind of pace you on how many paintings you can add to your library, since it's, licensing is a usage term, like it gives you permission to teach the classes. So if you were to, let's say, license for a year and you have this huge gallery of all this artwork, it's still a usage-based license membership. So if you were to cancel, then you no longer have the right to teach those classes, even though you have accumulated artwork.
Sure. Makes
So
sense.
you would lose, technically you lose your gallery. So like if you wanted to 6 months join back again, you would then be starting again, building your library.
I see.
Yeah.
And something with the last tier, you also have how do you word it for the miles preference? How does that work?
Okay. For the highest level membership, we have a territory protection. And we decided to incorporate that into the licensing was because a lot of studios, of course, they want to have something unique and original to their studio. And with this business growing as it has, there are studios like down the street, around the corner, things like that. So the exclusivity gives you within a certain mile range, depending on your geographic area, exclusivity for licensing. So that if you have that higher level membership, if another studio approaches us for licensing, we will decline them because there is a territory protected studio in that area already. And we've had to do that many, many times. But it keeps, like I said, it keeps that person offering something that's special and that's unique to their area.
You're protected. I like it.
I know it's rough when those things happen, and I had to do that myself when I would train new people. Also, I would have them sign a contract agreement in the beginning, and non-compete that they could not open a similar teaching thing. I had to put all the legal verbiage in there within a certain mile radius of where I was. Because some people would come and want to work for me. And they would say flat out in the interview that they're thinking of like starting their own when they move in a year. And I'm like, bye-bye.
That is the quickest way to not get hired.
I know, same. I love it whenever
I'm like,
it says, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And we have had multiple, like I said, right now I'm hiring. So we've had applications like, I would like to own a studio like this. And I was like,
Well, I mean, it's one thing 5 years, but it's like, there's so much that goes into training somebody. And that was my beef. It's
So
like, I don't
expensive.
care if they're, at that point, I wasn't licensing with those interviews. So if they're teaching in, Florida, I don't really care. But the amount that you invest into somebody for training, I mean, we put a lot of months into training somebody and getting their, I'm like, I'm not going to teach you all the things and then, have you leave in less than a year. Like that's going to be completely ridiculous. So, yeah.
Well, I do want to ask why canvases? What I mean by that is, I mean, we are CCSA, a lot of ceramic studio owners. Let's talk about like a little bit of a sales pitch. I know I have my own reasonings, but like I'd like to you start with why should you have canvases in your studio?
Good. That's an excellent question. So I heard you mention in the beginning, I'm not sure if it was before we started recording or after, that, canvas was kind of like on the downslide and then you said right after that, but it shouldn't be. And I completely agree because canvas, I mean, painting, I've always stuck to canvas painting because I was mobile. Obviously I wasn't going to get into ceramics, but even other things like other trending materials, because I just thought, as an art form, painting has been around for centuries and it will continue to always be around. People will always want to create visual flat art. And when you have, not you can paint on other things as well. Just as a side note, a lot of people are using Art Rave licensed artwork on their ceramics, on other things. Yeah. So in my painting membership, my members also paint on like platters or wooden, someone just like a wooden, like paddle or a tray, you could obviously like take those painting skills to other surfaces, but the canvas painting is where it's taught. That's and I think that seeing the ceramic studios and a lot of people have, like I said, getting to know studio owners, we've learned that they are competing with a market that is in the big franchises is going into art as entertainment. Mm-hmm. So if they just stay with one thing, there is going to be a franchise opening up doing all the things. And, just like there's like some of the big franchises that have combined the ceramics and the sip-in paints in one already. They're already buying each other out.
Yep.
So if you're offering, say, ceramics during the day, or you have a guided ceramics experience, a couple days a week, if you also offer canvas painting, then you become the center for like art and creativity in your area. That's what I've seen. And I think that it is a great way to look at your studio as being something that if somebody is creative and artistic in your area, that you are their go-to place, their meetup place, they can take their kids, they can go out with their friends in an evening and have like a wine and painting experience. But the canvas painting, again, it's the guided experience, whether it's a guided ceramic painting or it's a guided canvas. I think it's something that we need to keep strong. And that's kind of like my mission has become to keep canvas painting elevated and strong in this industry. Because I think there was also, with a lot of things come and go, a lot of things trend and untrend. But when you have a quality experience where people are connecting to each other and experiencing success, you are going to keep that much more interesting and alive.
Absolutely. And that's even when I teach one of my classes, the first thing I tell everybody is obviously my name. I follow up with, I also answered, oh my goodness, what did I do? And then my favorite is the gasp. But I follow up and I explain, I'm like, we are here for memories. We're here for the giggles. We're here for the, oh my goodness, did you just see what I just did to this? And we're here for not to sell something for millions of dollars. We're here for the experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I keep telling, like, if you're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to, if you're putting too much pressure on yourself, breathe. It's okay. But the one thing I like about Canvas is that financially, as a business, I personally I still find the best deal is I get
yes.
I will take, and then you wait till they're on sale. You get them for maybe a 5-pack of the 16 by 20 for on sale is $12. That breaks down to $2 and maybe 25 cents for a canvas. Then
where was that, Christine? Sorry, it broke up for me.
I go to Michael's.
Oh, nice.
I just go to, and it's
down. Yeah.
It's
also, that's a great reminder to me also, is that because with the canvas painting, the profit margins are so high. I mean, when we were at CCSA in Reno, the whole point of my entire presentation was the profit margin. When you asked that question, I completely forgot. But it has a very high profit margin because you're right. The cost of materials is so low. I mean, the canvas itself. Mm-hmm. Once you invest in like the different paints, obviously with ceramic studios, you need to have the acrylic paints. But once you have like the paints and the brushes, you're set. And the repeat expense is the canvas, which is so low compared to the cost of the class that you can offer, because the value that they're getting is in the guided experience. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you also, once they leave, they just take their canvas and bye-bye. You don't have to fire it. You don't have to arrange for everyone picking it up. You don't have all that time from and resources going into the after part. So that's a big.
I'm with you. The other thing that I start off with $28 for my normal paint and sip style, like the simpler stuff.
And what size canvas is that?
16 by 20. And then for my Art Rave design, since it is a little bit more detailed, I do $38 for a class. And I do tell
nothing. Them, you can't go to the movies for less than like $50.
And I know there's people that have success with selling them for $45. It's just something that in my area, I am not able to.
Totally.
But if you can get it up to $45 for something that the profit is, or I'm sorry, what do I want to call it? The cost is less than $3.
Yeah.
And I, as a person that also has a subscription service, I try to point that out as often as I can, as like, one class will pay for that month's subscription fee many times over. Right. You know what I mean? Like you have to just start thinking about filling the seats you got to have it. You got to have this membership. It's kind of what I'm hearing, and I'm.
And and to be realistic, I want people to have realistic expectations. If you have never offered guided experiences before, and then you just start putting painting classes up, it will take a while for your customers to get to know that this is what you're offering. So it depends on where you are. I'm not going to say where you are in the canvas painting. I'm going to say where you are in your guided experiences. Because if people don't know that they can come to that could be any materials. It could be a ceramic class. But if you only had walk-ins and you don't have scheduled classes where you have a professional or an artist helping people complete a group project together, that's what I mean by a guided experience. But if you already have that momentum going, introducing Canvas you'll see very quick results, because your customers will already know that they come to you for successful classes. So that's why it's like I said, if you're just starting out, you want to just allow your audience a chance to get to know what you offer. And that once they start leaving with something that they love, they'll be coming back again and again.
Yeah, that definitely that's worth saying. When at the studio I used to work at, when we first started our Canvas program, it was building it from scratch. And so the policy was, if one person wants to come, we'll teach the class. And I won't say that it was like, financially the best thing, but it was the best thing for me as an instructor, because I got to learn how to teach in a setting that was like way less intimidating, because it would just be 1 to 2 people sometimes, and it's casual. So I highly recommend just trying it, and it will take a couple months, but it's totally worth it.
That's a really good point. And here's one of the things that I did with profit margin, because I had a business coach for many years, and she's the one who kind of like taught me about all this profit margin. And typically if I had a restaurant class, I would have or a private party, I have like an 8-person minimum. But if I had a restaurant class, if I had like 3 or 5 people sign up, I don't want to disappoint the restaurant and have them not count on me for coming in. And I don't want to disappoint my customers who have signed up to come to paint. So it was like this, oh my gosh, I have 3 to 5 people. What do I do? So what I did as the business owner is that of course, the ticket prices are what they're at. I would have a scaled pay approach to my instructor. So if it was like under 7 people, they would get paid a little bit less because setup and cleanup was a lot quicker. Mm-hmm. They have less stress. They only have like 2 people or 3 people, but I would also give them the first right of refusal. So my profit margins were protected. They could still make money if they were just going to be sitting around that night and they're like, no, you know what? I'd still rather go out and teach, 3 people and get paid just like a little bit less. Yeah. And so even if they taught 1 or 2 people, like for me at that point, it might be a wash. The instructor gets paid, but it's a win-win. Like I don't need to make money off of those classes, but I don't lose money either. Right. Because my instructor gets paid. Basically the ticket prices go straight to them and supplies. And it's a zero, net. But those small classes give people a positive experience and they will come back. Those small classes build the bigger classes because you get that one-on-one.
Yeah. And in talking about giving the like slightly less pay if it's under a certain amount, I mean, that's such a good, most of the instructors for PYOP classes like this are going to be employees that work at the studio. So what a great incentive to get them to sell while they're on the floor. Like, oh, if you get, 10 more people in this class, you get a different kind of pay grade. Like that gets them invested, that gets them excited, and they'll actually sell the class. I know that was the hardest for me managing in a studio, is like getting your employees to talk about the events that are happening. Yeah. But if you give them a little stake in the game, would promote it.
And I wouldn't, I didn't necessarily give them like a percentage, but it was on a scaled basis. So like by a certain number of people. So if it was like, I don't know if it was like 5, 6, 7 in chunks, they would get, so if it went from, 10 people to 17 people, then they were in a slightly higher pay for it. It wasn't like a percentage of, because also I am providing the artwork.
Right. Yeah, that could get expensive.
A percentage base would make sense if they were the artist and it was their quality of their artwork that was driving the sales. Mm-hmm. But I'm doing the artwork, or you're providing the licensed artwork. So it's your business and your licensing that's driving the sales. Yes, it would help if they had some skin in the game. But, so just keep that in mind as a business owner, not to give too much value and too much. I know, and I'm saying this because I talk to studio owners who feel guilty that their artist is not getting paid a percentage. Their artist is talented, and I'm not going to take away that from any artist. I'm an artist. But their artists, it's different when they're not creating the art themselves. And you need to know that you have that leverage in your own mind. Not that you need to tell them that. You need to know that as a business owner, you are providing them you're providing them the job. And so you just need to keep that power card in mind.
Absolutely.
If they're designing, creating the artwork, and they're bringing that art to your studio and it's bringing people in and they, it's like that's different. It's a totally different story. But if you're licensing artwork and they didn't create it themselves, they're basically a hired brush. And that's something that is still very wonderful. Mm-hmm. But,
And you reminded me, I do see in chatter, sometimes people are like, I only got 1 or 2 signups for this class. I'm just going to cancel it. I personally don't agree with that. There has been some classes that I've only had 1 or 2 people. Now, granted, they had a lot more of my attention, but they have turned into parties where there's 40 people, and it's not, I don't understand why and I do, but I don't. That's always a struggle for me.
I think it's that friend that like never wants to hang out when you can hang out, you know, and you're like, oh, do you want to get dinner? And they're like, no, I don't feel like it, or no, I'm busy. And then you ask again and they keep saying no. If you keep saying no, then they'll stop asking you to hang out. And so I feel that way when it comes to canceling events and stuff in your studio. You can't always do that.
And the numbers do go up. I mean, once you, the other thing that I think we were going to talk about, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of your schedule, Christine, but was the scheduling further out. Because we were on the topic of like the amount of numbers of people in your classes, and how far out you plan your parties can be a huge factor in the number of people that sign up for your class. So if you have like, I mean, I know that it's very hard to imagine this when, you know, like we're in 1 month and we're thinking like, okay, I got to get my paintings up for next month. Well, there could be like 2 or 3 weeks between when you're signing up, when you're putting something on the calendar. If you have, you know, a painting that you put out 6 to 8 weeks and it's on your calendar, you can put it up as far in advance as you want, because you'll still be selling tickets all throughout that time. And I kind of I can use the analogy of like baking a cake. If you put the cake in the oven and you take it out early, it's only going to rise so much. Like the longer it's in the oven, the higher it gets. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you have that on your calendar further out, it's going to snowball into friends inviting friends. Oh, I signed up for this class. Can you join me? And then it escalates because you have, you know, all that time and momentum, people to plan to come out. And we're talking about that all the time, about planning your calendars further out. Like 6 to 8 weeks is
sweet spot,
the minimum
you
can have it out.
Yes, Christine. Yes.
I need to. I know. I gotta tell you, that's one thing I slack on. And I walk into my studio and I'm like, all right, this is the day I'm gonna plan 2 months right now. Like, I'm just going to do it right now. I'm like, I'm giving away money. That's what I keep telling myself, is I'm giving away money. By not doing this, I'm just giving it away. So I try so hard. And then I get to about maybe a half a month. And then I'm like, you know, I think we should DoorDash. I just feel like, go over here. And I just,
Christine, what if you broke this up into 2 days and then you still get to DoorDash?
Okay, I have a better idea. This is so. Whatever system works for you. This is the system that we did when we were doing our events. And we had to plan with restaurants also. So even though we had fixed dates and fixed relationships with venues, we still had to get them up on the calendar and, you know, coordinate with some staff. But the first of the month would be, you know, most of us are good at the first and the 15th of the month, right? Because there's payroll and all the things. So, you know, you have your time. They say whenever you're doing a new habit, you link it to a habit you already have, right? So we're already tuned into the 1st and the 15th of the month. The 1st of the month, you start planning 2 months out. 2 full months. Skip the month you're in, skip the next month, start planning that month. Okay? That's when you start planning. That's when you start picking the paintings. So in the Art Rave licensing, it's very easy. You just go into the gallery and you shop and you load your paintings, and you can start you can start putting polls up in your Facebook group. You can like put a couple of paintings and say, ask your audience, what do you guys want to paint? I'm looking at these paintings for the calendar. Get them involved in choosing the art. And then they can vote, and you see all this engagement, and you can see people voting on the paintings that they want to paint. And now you have, you know, the selection of maybe what paintings you're going to put in that month, but also, even if you put all 3 of the paintings people voted on, you're just getting engagement. You know, it's like you're getting the ball rolling, you're getting people excited about. So, but the 1st of the month, start planning. And then, you know, you start, if it takes you a while because you get interrupted or you're a busy business person and you don't get the whole calendar up, by the 15th, you should be done. So you give yourself that 2-week focus where you start planning on the 1st. But the 15th is your deadline for having that 3rd month out completed, all the events completed. You can start posting them. You can start posting them the first of the month. If you know you're going to have one or two, you know those are set, start posting them. And you can just keep adding them to your calendar. But the 15th, done. That's your goal. That's more realistic, right? I mean,
I agree.
Right.
So that is so fun. I think that it is really, I don't know why it's that is such a good advice. And now here's one thing I do want to ask. So you put it on your calendar. Now, obviously you're either using a website or Occasion, or there's so many different ways that you can advertise. But there's one thing that how else do you advertise? I know that I put them on Facebook personally. The thing is I have to remind myself, you can't just put them on Facebook and expect
Email.
Email.
Please use your email list.
Yeah. I mean, Facebook is great, but email is still, I mean, especially for my demographic, for, you know, women like 35 and older, email, you know, you're still going strong. And what's great about like MailChimp, and I'm sure that Constant Contact has the same thing, you can see the revenue from each email. Okay. So, you know, I mean, I get emails on a regular basis, and I was doing the live events where emails made money. I would see it. You see the email report, it's right on there. This brought this much revenue. You know, there's clicks and there's reach and everything, but like the money that the email's bringing in, those are people buying tickets. So you want to have an email that shows your events, and it could be, you know, like maybe once or twice a month, but obviously once a week is probably more ideal, where you say like, these are the new paintings that are coming up. And then, you know, like if you have your emails scheduled for the first of the month, you would have what's coming up in the next, you know, 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks. And then if you have the email the next week, you just overlap a little bit. So some are being repeated and then some are dropping off as they pass. But repetition, people need to see repetition. They don't open every one of your emails.
Yeah.
So, and you don't want to put like 30 paintings in there. I would suggest if you do an email, you want to have, maybe you'll find your own sweet spot maybe, but like I would say 3 to 6 painting events. Like, even if you have a full calendar, put the next, you know, 3 to 6 painting events or guided events that you want to have people see, because they're not going to spend a ton of time on your email. So there's no point in having like, you know, 15 paintings in an email. It takes you too long to do it.
Yeah.
Just have your emails more frequent, change out those paintings on there, have the links, of course, have the links to buy the tickets from your email. And then of course, when you do the email, then you're also sharing on Facebook, you know, these new paintings. And here's another idea about promoting. So, you know, everyone has the level of social media they can tolerate with, you know, creating posts and stuff. But the organic ones that are not planned and that are not edited are usually the ones that have the most reach. The silly ones, right? When you were mentioning earlier that you paint a sample of your painting, if you make a habit every time you paint your sample painting or you have one of your staff painting it or whatever, is to videotape it just a couple minutes. Just videotape like a couple seconds of, you know, like finishing up like the eye on a bird or adding in some extra hair on a Highland cow or something. You know, you just add a couple minutes of a painting in there and you add that into your Facebook feeds, into your Facebook shorts or, you know, reels and things like that. So then those little tiny videos, they grab people's attention. And it's not like you need to coordinate a whole, you know, recording. You just use what you have.
I completely agree with that. I also think it's really important to like close the circle on an event, and you should be sharing pictures and clips and highlights from the classes that you teach, because a person who's been on the internet from the dawn of time, I become very distrustful very quickly of people. And I also think like if you are constantly being like, come to this class, come to this class, come to this class, I think you have to prove that people are coming to the class and not just being like, we're offering this. Because if you tell me over and over again, we're offering this, but then you're not kind of showing me the offer, I start to kind of not trust that it's fun or worth it or valuable. And so I think showing its perceived value, you know, showing people there will up its perceived value, and people will come to that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Also, I tell my staff the first thing I always do, take pictures of people, because they can take us, they can hear us. But when they see that they're actually successful and they do walk out with great paintings, and that is that right there is better than a Google review, because you're right there. And I even tell people that if you're in the witness protection service and you don't want your picture taken, just put it over your face. Like I feel like I don't want to tell them. What I'm saying is I don't really care about your beautiful face, which is gorgeous. I care about your painting that you did in my class. And that's where you have to
you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, Amy, because I take for granted sometimes the things that were so ingrained in my process. When we were doing the live events, I have literally a checklist, and I've shared this in my membership. So the membership is a free Facebook group as well. I mean, a Facebook group that goes with the membership rather. And we share other business things, and I will do workshops on like knowing your numbers and how to calculate profit margin. And I share spreadsheets. And so I really want to help support your business in every way I can, learning from what I've done in my, 8 to 10 years of doing, events. But taking an event full circle, like you said, what you captured during the event, it was a trained mandatory thing that anyone attending the event had to, well, there was usually a picture person who was assigned to, taking smiling photos. That's what we call them. Take smiling photos. Because I wouldn't say, because nobody wants like this picture of themselves, when they're painting or like that serious look. And so we would go around the room. I would train people to take a picture a certain way, and I'll share that if you want. But take the pictures. Of course, the end of the last picture of the group shot is great, but we'd also do the small group pictures, because I would tell people I would use their camera as well. I have no problem using their camera, but I would use my camera too, because I would say, because I would take better pictures. A lot of times I had a better phone. And so I would say like, oh, we're sharing these. We're going to put these on our Facebook page. You can come to the Facebook page to get them.
Yep.
And then everyone at that party returns to your Facebook page. They see the event. They feel great about being there. They share it. They share it. And so here's the smile photos. And this is a great marketing. This is marketing, because marketing is sharing what you're doing. It is, word of mouth, right? Social media, word of mouth. So smile photos are super critical marketing tool, because people aren't going to share pictures of themselves that are ugly.
Right.
So what you do is you don't take, in painting classes, oftentimes people are sitting side by side, and I see a lot of photos taken where they're taken from the side and then the other person's behind them. Okay. Cause you're taking down a row. Mm-hmm. When you take down a row, one person is huge and in front, has a double chin, and then the other person is behind them and small, and you want to take them in front. So you go across the table and you look over the people who are here at the people there, because you want the subjects to be equal distance from the camera, not like this, side to side. You want them to be equal distant. And of course you're slightly higher up. So women looking up look all pretty, no double chins, and they can also prepare with a camera smile. Mm-hmm. So you get the backs of their canvas, but you get their smiling faces and them holding the glass of wine, which they're going to pick up if they're there. So that's what I call a smiling photo. And it shows them doing something fun with their friend. And then at the end, you see the finished paintings and people are holding them. And I call those like small group photos, which are the people who came with each other. Mm. So
that's so sweet too. Like that's just a nice thing.
Right. Because we don't take pictures of ourselves as adults. Like we're not taking pictures of ourselves doing fun things. So you're doing it for them, and they have a memory of them sitting next to their friend, and they have a memory of them holding their canvas at the end with their friend. So even though the big group pictures are very typical in the industry, and they're great, they show that you're having this huge party, but the ones that people are going to share are the pretty ones, the intimate ones. Yeah. So, and they're quick to take, and they're better off to take near the end of the event anyway, when people are past the fret, of this is going to turn out. It's like the last 15 minutes of the class, bam, go around the room. Hi, can you smile? You. Lean together, take a picture. I'm taking a picture of you and you. Like, hey, Sally and Susan, taking your picture, let them know you're taking your picture, and you just do one lap around the room, and now you have your marketing photos to absolutely populate.
There's a ton of good stuff in this episode, but that is one of the best ones that I hope people pay attention to, because it's so easy to forget to take that picture. So set an alarm on your phone, an hour into the class, and then start making your rounds, because you just got to have them. Pictures like that are going to be what sells.
If you have a team, you decide. The person who's managing the event, or if they're the instructors managing the event, then if there's an assistant, it's the assistant's job to do that. And you need to train your staff how to do that. You need to train your staff what a good picture looks and what a bad picture looks like. Yeah. Because those pictures, they are the ones that people are going to tag and share and download, and they're going to come back.
Completely agree. I love that. Wow. I mean, I'm telling you, I love this. Christine, do you have any other questions?
Well, no, but I just want to point out that if you are in the subscription that Michele has, you are hearing these things she has videos. There's so much more than just here's my beautiful painting that you can license. She has the knowledge that she shares with her group too. And then back to that mileage thing, there's a huge that is definitely there's so much. Do it.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of support there. So I definitely recommend checking this out. And where can listeners go to join that subscription, Michele?
So our website is artravestudios.com. And there's also a public Facebook group called Art Rave Studios. The one for members is called Art Rave Studio Members. So if you see the one that says members at the end, that one is a paid group. But Art Rave Studios on Facebook or artravestudios.com is the website. And there's more information about the different levels of licensing. You could try it an a la carte. You can always email or call us directly. My husband and I are very available via phone conversations. I believe in speaking to people on the phone a lot. So, I really love that. I love teaching in-person events. I still love teaching, and I still have a bunch of friends and teaching with people. But, since I started licensing and started putting more folks on the licensing, it's also been a huge sense of satisfaction seeing studios who are teaching in person and who do have brick and mortars experiencing the levels of success they are with the artwork. Because it just shows that, when I had I always felt that my paintings sold out classes. When I was growing my business, I started it because I was an artist. And I thought okay, I'm going to teach paintings, and the paintings are what brought people in. My business is called Art Rave, and the acronym for the rave is Radical Artistic Visual Experience. And on my business card, because the raves, the rave party is, it's like radical audio visual experience.
That's amazing.
So that's why we named it Art Rave.
Christine's mind is blown.
Art Rave trivia.
Yeah, awesome.
But it's the experience, really. So it's the experience that you bring to, I always put it on the artwork, but, I always prided myself in the artwork as the person creating it, but it is the experience you're creating. So in the membership, while it is primarily the artwork, and I do still believe that strong painting, people are going to come in for paintings they want to paint, and pretty paintings and things that are going to hang in their home. And that's really what I prioritize in my designing, is creating designs that people will want to hang in their home. What do I want to hang in my home? If I were going to paint this painting and hang it somewhere, what would I want it to look like? Mm-hmm. So I always keep that in my mind, which is, I call that elevating the sip and paint experience. Because there's so many silhouettes and sunsets out there that just get thrown in the closet or trashed, and it's we call those one and dones. Mm-hmm. People come out, they have a great time with their friend, they do a bachelorette party, whatever, and then it's one and done, bam. We want to grow our businesses. We want to keep people coming back. We want to keep this a thriving thing for people to do. And so I design with keepers. We want to have people keeping their paintings, but then also creating the experience. And so Christine, like you were saying in the membership, I would like to have more Zooms and things where people can we can share together, but we still share in the Facebook group what is helping out with different various business aspects in terms of, profit margins, supplies and ordering, managing groups, managing large parties, all the different details that come with this business, as well as creating the experience and enhancing that for our customers.
That's amazing.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah. It was so nice to talk about this. I mean, I learned so much, and
I know, and I want to learn more about, we'll have to get together and talk.
Yeah.
More about what you're doing with your ceramics, or is pottery or ceramics?
I think you can use it interchangeably in kind of what we do, but yeah.
Great.
Well, Christine, you want to kind of roll it out here for Michele?
Yeah, I absolutely appreciate your brain. I hope so many people check it out. Even if you're not into the canvas world, like you said, we can use it for other things. Michele, I appreciate your time, and I love Art Rave for all the things. So thank you.
CCSAonline.com. Glazed Over is brought to you by the CCSA, the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association. Thank you to our moderators, Amy Williams and Christine Steele. Intro and outro music by Scott Lester. Executive production by Louise Blazucki. Learn more about the CCSA at ccsaonline.com.